I think one of the most common questions I get is like, do you get lonely? The whole van is like, try and do it cheap and simple, but to like look nice. I think even if I wasn't living in a van, I'd try and take those like aspects like the slower living, the more minimalist life into wherever I was living.
Alright guys, welcome back to another Liveration video. Today we're meeting up with Shannon, who lives full-time in a van.
Let us know in the comments what you think, and if you want to support the channel, give us a like and a sub. Back to it.
Hi, I'm Shannon and I live full-time in this van here. A few years ago I was seeing van life on social media and I just thought it looked quite cool and I wanted to give it a go. So I started with a Volkswagen Caddy and built that out into a camper van. I was using it mostly for weekend trips and for work because I work as a wedding photographer, so it's convenient to travel around the UK. This summer I decided to go for a bigger van and I built this one. It's a lot different than the smaller one, but enjoying it so far. So I was kind of working and I was renting a place, and then I just thought a lot of the time I was away weekends, I wasn't really at the apartment, or I was like traveling and doing other things. So I thought it was a bit of a waste to be spending money on the apartment. So I just kind of decided to see if I could live in, this was the Caddy at the time. So I was like, I'm just going to see if I can live in it for the summer. It was kind of convenience because I was moving around a lot, and also to try and save a bit of money, but then more so that I could spend the money that I would have spent on the rent on other things instead, so I could enjoy life a bit more. When I bought this van, it was pretty much empty. I think it was used as a camper before. It had the roof vent in it, but that was pretty much it. When I did the first van, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I watched a lot of kind of videos online, a lot of tutorials and other people doing it, and I just went for it. I think I'm pretty like, once I get something in my mind, I just want to do it. And then I learned a little bit obviously doing the first one, so I kind of knew what to do with this one. But still, I just try and keep it basic. I mean, I built both of the vans with only a jigsaw and a drill, so I think I did a pretty good job. Just keep things simple and then it should be fine. So this is Clifford, the big red van. It's a 2011 Ford Transit. It's a mid-wheelbase, mid-roof. Because it's a mid-roof, it's probably not suitable for tall people, but I'm only 5'5", so I can fit inside standing up. The lengthways is pretty good because you can still fit in car parks and things like that, and you don't have to worry about taking up multiple spaces. So I've got solar panels on top. In the summer it's enough to pretty much power what I need. In the winter it doesn't really bring in anything, but it's 340 watts of solar, so it's usually enough. My electrical system is like a bit different to the kind of standard leisure battery setup, so I've got a big power station. I've been thinking of like different ways to charge it, so I can now charge whilst I'm driving because I just installed an inverter, but sometimes I can like plug it in at a campsite or a family and friend's house and charge up and things like that. I think I'm quite lucky because I just use my mum's address for pretty much anything, so all of my stuff, like my bank and insurance and everything, is registered at my mum's house. I know a lot of people are like, oh, but what do you do about an address? I think most people know at least one person in the UK that they'd be able to use as their address. If not, there are kind of ways around it. So the windows weren't installed when I first got the van, and I do like to be able to kind of see out. So I got the windows installed by a conversion company because I didn't really think I had the skills to do it myself. But I like that they're like the privacy ones, because a lot of the times if there's no lights inside then you can't see in. So a lot of the times in the day I don't need to worry about curtains and things like that. Again, another window this side, this one opens. It helps to create some ventilation because the only vent I've got on the roof is just one that opens, it's not electric. So I wanted to have an opening window so that I can try and get some airflow inside. Some things that I try try to do for security in the van. These are kind of just fake locks as a deterrent, and then I've got kind of some alarms and things inside, so hopefully no one steals it. I think one of the most common questions I get is like, do you get lonely? Because I'm usually by myself in the van. I don't think it's lonely, especially if you kind of prioritise either kind of spending time with other people or just like keeping yourself busy, which maybe sounds stupid, but if you're doing things and you're enjoying being by yourself and doing things and going for hikes and everything, then I don't think you'll get lonely. So yeah, for me, I don't find it lonely, but I know a lot of people who kind of do van life by themselves and they don't enjoy it by themselves at all. So it probably depends on the person. The kind of first summer that I did it, I was shooting weddings kind of most weekends, and then during the week I would travel around in the van, so I got to see a lot more of the UK, which I hadn't really done before. So it's a lot more free to be in the van and not be like, the only restrictions I had was where I was working at the weekend, so I would just plan it all accordingly and see what I could fit in. Yeah, a lot of the times I park up for free. Occasionally I'll use a campsite, but I kind of don't really see the point in a campsite because I've got everything I need in the van, so unless I kind of need to fill up water or anything like that, I try and park for free. It's not always nice places like this. Sometimes it's industrial estates or car parks, but sometimes those are the safer places because you know that like there's people around or there's like security cameras in places, but I do try where possible to be in nice places. So this van cost me about 3,000 to buy the actual van, and then to build it out I think it was just under 4,000. I think that's fairly low in comparison to most vans. You see a lot of people spending like 30,000 to build their van, and I think if I was spending that much I'd rather buy an actual house. It seems a lot to put a lot of money into something that could like easily break, like especially as it's an older vehicle. You could break down or you could crash, you could lose it. So I prefer to kind of keep costs as low as I can, and I don't think it's necessary to have all of the like fancy things that are going to cost like £20,000, like hot water and all of that stuff. Keep the cost down and then you can use the money for other things. Like, it's just about prioritising your money, I suppose. To actually run and live the van, it doesn't really cost too much. I mean, fuel is probably the biggest expense, especially if I'm like driving around a lot. Usually you can find water for free. I've got solar panels, so I've usually got electric for free. Right, let's look inside. Everything is nice and open inside. So I've got the kitchen, this table here, which I think I've used maybe once. So yeah, but I did like, when I had the smaller van, I cooked outside a lot. So I wanted to have a way of being outside, so I added this, but I've not really used it yet. So I've got a sink, and the water system is very simple. I've just got 2 jerry cans of water. I actually don't have a waste water, I just use the washing up bowl and kind of throw it away, because I just try and keep everything as simple as possible. This tap is like a rechargeable tap, so it's literally this and a wire that goes into the tank, and then there's water. It's just really easy. For the whole build I just wanted to keep things as simple as I could because I don't have the skills to like do plumbing and everything. So I used like a camping stove. I wanted to have loads of space so that I could do like different methods of cooking, or like if I wasn't cooking I've got all the space. So I've got a camping stove, I've also got an air fryer and an induction hob if I've got enough solar power. So yeah, plenty of options for cooking. So the storage up here looks a bit messy, but I thought it was kind of pointless to build a whole box and like waste space, so I pretty much just store all of my bedding and everything up there. I've got a little fridge. I mean, it works pretty well, it doesn't really use much power. That's pretty much the main thing that I need to keep running. It's also got a freezer if you need it, but not this time of year. So there's plenty of kitchen storage, so there's like drawer for like cutlery and random things, all of these cupboards, and I try to like utilize the storage as much as I can and like organize things. And this is like a little slide out pantry. Yeah, you can actually fit quite a lot in the cupboards. And then there's just a few like extra storage bits up here. I wanted to try and like use the like gaps in the wall of the van, so built a few little storage boxes. And then this is like a wardrobe. I'm not going to open it because it's quite messy inside. I've got like most of the clothes that I own in there, so it actually fits a lot more than you think. The ceiling is like something that I wanted to try, and I was actually quite impressed that I managed to pull it off, because when I was building it, I was just doing it by myself. I was like trying to hold the piece of wood with my head and like screw it in. It looks really cool, and I think the lights just add like a nice touch and it makes it look a bit fancier than it is really. So yeah, design choice. I think the whole van is like, try and do it cheap and simple, but to like look nice. I wanted to have this set up for the van so that it was really open and that I could kind of walk through and that there was space to sit during the daytime. I think most people hate the fact that you have to make a bed every day, but I kind of do it without even realising. Like, I just wake up, make the bed. It takes like 2 minutes. And it feels like you're in a different place when you're like in the seating area compared to in bed. So that was such a loud moo.
I thought it was something else for a minute.
So yeah, it's super easy to change it into a bed, and I prefer to have different spaces, more space and things like that. Yeah, so this is all storage under here. These kind of lift up. There's the diesel heater inside of there, and then storage under both. This is also storage, so there's like shoes and just random bits in there, cleaning supplies, and then this is the toilet, so there's like the cleaning supplies for the toilet in there. It was just a way to add a little bit more storage because I didn't know how big I wanted the toilet when I first built it, so this space was like dedicated for a toilet, and then I've got one that's quite small, so just added some extra storage. Yeah, I don't have a shower, so I just use gyms for the shower, and it works pretty well because I've just got a gym membership that I can use all of the gyms in the UK. I just plan my travels around like going to the gym and things like that, and it also forces me to actually use the gym at the same time. Okay, so this kind of table moves around, which is also quite cool. So this forms part of the bed. This comes off. So everything just goes in here. All of the cushions just kind of go in the middle. There's only been a few times where I'm like, oh, I really don't want to make the bed, but it's been like less than a handful of times. A lot of the times it's quite nice because you're like, okay, I'm ready for bed now. I'll make the bed, get all cozy, like get all the blankets out. So that's the bed. It's a full width double. It's a little bit shorter than a normal bed, but it's not too bad unless you're too tall. It's comfy enough. Sometimes you feel the cracks, but it's not been too bad, I don't think. It just depends how you arrange the cushions. Like usually I don't put them this way, but yeah. Cool. People are always saying like, oh, is there anything you change? And I think I like thought out everything that I wanted to have in the van, so there's not really a lot that I would actually change. I think having the smaller micro camper first helped me to know like what I wanted in the van and how I wanted things, and like I knew that I wanted an open space and I knew that's how I wanted it. So I've got like all of my bedding stored up there, so I've got like bed sheets, duvet, pillows, everything like that. So
so you don't just lie on top of
I don't just lie there like this with a sleeping bag, no. Yeah, some people use sleeping bags in their vans. I could not, because it just doesn't feel cozy at all, does it, in a sleeping bag? I think living in the van kind of makes you appreciate being outdoors more, and I've noticed in winter a lot of the times I like don't want to go outside. You just keep the doors closed and want to keep the heat inside, but during the summer you're literally living outside, like wherever you park is your back garden essentially, and it kind of makes you realise that you don't really need much stuff. Like I've got pretty much everything I own inside the van, so you really like don't need a lot to live, I suppose. I think even if I wasn't living in a van, I'd try and take those like aspects like the slower living, the more minimalist life into wherever I was living, because that's something that it's like made me realise that you don't need loads of things. The best thing about living this way is probably like the freedom, and I can, depending on what work I've got, I can pretty much go and do whatever I want, like be wherever. So recently I had a few days off work and I was like, I just want to go and do some like hiking in the mountains. So I just went to Wales and did some hiking for a couple of days. So yeah, I guess the freedom and being able to choose where you go and what you do. The worst thing is probably like the constant need to find like resources. Like you always need to check if your water's full, if you've got electric, and if you need to empty the toilet, and like it's a constant thing. Like every day you have to be thinking of that. So that can be a challenge, especially when I think by yourself, because it's always like on you to do it. You can't just leave it and forget about it. I think a lot of people want to know how to like get started with van life, and like they see everyone else living in a van or doing like living differently, and they want to know how to do it. But a lot of the times people have just like made the decision, and if you set a goal and actually just work towards the goal, then it's more easy than you think. Like set a budget, set what you want to do, save the amount and do it. Like don't question yourself, just go for it. Like the worst that's going to happen is probably nothing. Like you just have a badly built van that you can try and sell on to someone else. So I think there's nothing that's going to really go that wrong. So just take the risk and go for it. I don't think I'll be in the van like forever. Like I don't see it as a forever thing. It's very convenient for now because of the kind of amount of time I spend around the UK in different places, and it means that I don't have to think about having a house right now, so it's just convenient. As I'm in a long distance relationship, it kind of like when I'm in the UK I have the van, so it's like always somewhere I come back to. So in my future plans are to obviously be probably in a house, but I do want to take like the whole slow living and minimalist kind of idea and way of life into wherever I'm living. So I think people talk negatively about houses a lot, but there's a lot of positives to a house, and like having a base and somewhere that you can go back to. And I think a lot of people do it the other way around. So they've got the house and they've got everything, and then they get rid of it all and they feel the freedom and the weight lifted off their shoulders when they're like traveling around living differently. Whereas it's kind of nice to go the other way around. So I've kind of started out, because I've rented a few places, but I've never like had a house. So to start with a small house like this, where it kind of teaches you the basics and like to not need everything, and then to go into having a house, it will kind of be a lot better, if that makes sense. So like I won't be tied down by the house, because I'll know that that's not everything. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed listening to my story and why I live in a van. You can find me online. I often make videos about my travels in the van and working and all of that. You can find me pretty much Shannon Lawford, any social media.
Alright guys, thanks for tuning in to another video there, and a big thanks to Shannon for inviting us over and sharing a story with us.
Make sure to check her out on all the socials, the links will be down below, and let us know in the comments what you thought of the video. And if you do want to support the channel, make sure you give us a like and a subscribe.
And we'll see you in the next video.